Hey everybody, I have two stories for you today. Sort of came across them by accident. My husband was reading the news and I saw the first story. But when I went onto the news website, the top story was the second story. And I thought, wow, I cannot believe they published this because this is not typically something that they want to advertise. In fact, they are very keen to suppress this kind of information. And so when I heard that they published it, I was really shocked and I thought that I should share this with you, lest it be retracted. Okay, so let's get started. You may or may not have heard this, but there is a bit of an issue between America and the UK. So this is from Sky News, and you can check this up yourself. U.S. diplomat's wife suspected of involvement in fatal road accident has left the UK. I would argue that it's no longer suspected because one way or another they found out that it was her, whether she had admitted to it or otherwise, because here we go. The one who was suspected of it flees the UK the next day back to America and then claims diplomatic immunity to what happened so as to not be prosecuted for it. Why would you say any of that if you were only suspected of it and in fact you had done it? So this happened just yesterday. Or no, so this happened in the summer, I believe, end of August, but this came out yesterday. So this is the boy, he's a 19-year-old boy who died because he was riding on his motor. I'm just going to paraphrase to you what I saw in the news clip. He was riding, this is his parents. He was riding on his motorbike going home. You know that British drive on the opposite side of the road as Americans and Canadians and the continental Europe and other places. In any case, they drive on the other side. He was, of course, driving in the proper lane because he's British. And this lady obviously was not. It was late at night and she was driving on the opposite side. Here we go, it says it right there. He was on his motorbike and he was on the right side of the road, but she pulled out of an airbase, which they actually called in the video an espionage base that America has. Sorry about my voice. So she was on the wrong road carriageway. Oh my God, so British. Anyway, she hit him dead on because, of course, they were going in the wrong direction. Okay, so he was rushed to the hospital, but he died in hospital. So this poor kid had his whole life ahead of him. So here we go. Let me just scroll down to show you what happened. So she fled and claimed diplomatic immunity. Now, she herself is not a diplomat. Her husband is the diplomat. And she wants to, by extension of him being the diplomat, see, the wife of a U.S. diplomat, she wants to have his privileges for her crime. Okay, keep that in mind. So the diplomatic immunity was raised during the issue, and an immediate application to waive this immunity was taken. Okay, here we go. And guess what happened? America declined to waive this. She isn't even remorseful, and she didn't care. Okay, this is outrageous. Think about this. You killed someone, and instead of doing what? Okay, if you don't want to allow yourself to go to jail, which is a piece of shit thing to do, you're not offering the family any money. You're not offering them anything at all. You're not even giving an apology. She didn't give a shit. Okay. So, they were not going to confirm. So she doesn't even get to be publicly shamed. They don't even get to say her name. Anyway, so she fled. And this is what, and she's not going to give a statement either, but this is what I think the U.S. Embassy said. Any questions regarding a waiver of the immunity with regard to our diplomats and their family members overseas in a case like this receives intense attention at senior levels, blah, 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 and are considered carefully given the global impact such decisions carry. Important part, immunity is rarely waived. Okay. Let's now, that's it. Let me just, because I got curious. imagine this happened to, in general. Let me show you. I looked it up. I don't know if Wiki is the best source for this, but let's have a look. This is diplomatic immunity. And so this comes from the Vienna Convention. That's how they've decided to, what ruling that they've decided to use. Okay, so how is it used and abused? Let me just show you. It tells you right there in the first paragraph. Basically, you're supposed to uphold the rules of whatever country or local municipality you're in. So there you go. Are expected to obey regulations governing their behavior, and they suffer, let's see this, and they suffer severe disciplinary actions if they flout local laws. Flout means ignore or disobey. In many nations, a professional diplomat's career may be compromised if they, and this is the most important part, or members of their family, which is what she is. She herself is not the diplomat. She is merely the wife. Disobey the local authorities or cause serious embarrassment. That's another thing you should keep in mind. Disobey local authorities, which is what she did. She killed someone and causes serious embarrassment. How is this not grossly embarrassing to America? That she is using the excuse that, my husband's a diplomat, ergo I don't get to be punished. Or, my husband's a lawyer, so good luck prosecuting me. My husband's a judge, good luck prosecuting me. My husband's a cop, good luck prosecuting me. So you can't do that. You just cannot do that. Well, she thinks she can, and she seems to be getting away with it, unless more attention is given to this. Okay. In many nations, a professional diplomat's career may be compromised. Okay, remember that. It may be compromised if members of the family do this. And in such cases, at any rate, it violates the spirit of this Vienna Convention, which is what it's about. Vienna Convention is explicit that without prejudice or their privileges and immunities, it is the duty of all persons enjoying such privileges and immunities to respect the laws and regulations of their receiving state. Okay, nonetheless, we have some unfortunate results. Protected diplomats have violated the laws of the host country and have been able to, sometimes they'll become persona non grata, so they're no longer welcome back. But also there are other times where they are able to get away with this. So here are some violations of the law. Just remember, disobeys the local authorities and causes embarrassment and is a member of the family. Let's read. Violation of the law by diplomats has included espionage, smuggling, child custody law violations, money laundering, tax evasion, making terrorist threats, slavery, preying on children over the internet for sex, keep that in mind, not for this case, but in general, and murder. Well, the kid's dead. Be it an accident or otherwise. How can you do nothing about it? Okay, so this woman really should not be getting the privileges that she is getting. And I don't know why America is not doing anything about it. But there is a big campaign about other people like her, local MP, people in the government, other politicians in general have taken a shine to this case because I imagine it's advantageous for them politically to do this. But in general, this is just not on. Like they'll say, what is it that they said? No one is above the law. Oh, yeah. No one is above the rule of law. If you're here in the UK, you must abide by our rules. This family deserves answers and respect shown to their son. Well, good luck with that. So I think that's quite disgusting, and I hope that this family does get something out of it. I know that money is not going to replace your child, but the fact that, you're not doing anything about it, you didn't even apologize, is pretty bad. I mean, anyway, that's that. And from what I can gather, just a basic search, this person has violated obvious rules. Okay, here's another thing that I saw, and this was also a front page cover. Very, very interesting. Top stories. Hundreds, I don't know why hundreds had to be in those quotes, but whatever. Hundreds of young trans people seeking help to return to original sex. And look who it is. It's a lady who has taken on the image of a man and now regrets it and would like to detransition. Wowza. This is not news because many people have been doing this for quite a long time. But of course, the community of which they are a part does not like it and does not want this sort of, news to be out there. So let's have a little look now over here. So this is it. So this is the next article. That's what I came from, and I found it here. I want to show you this little video that she herself is in. Where is it? Yes, here it is. And let's hear what she says. And then I'll discuss with you.
I was approached by a young woman with a beard, and she hugged me and said, like, I'm a detransitioned woman as well, I've just stopped taking testosterone. And after that, I felt like I had to do something. I'm hearing from hundreds of people, and I think some of the common characteristics are they tend to be around their mid-20s. They're mostly female and mostly same-sex attracted, most are lesbians.
Okay, did you hear that? Mostly female, mostly in their 20s, and mostly same-sex attracted. Okay, why is that important? Let's just read this first and I'll come right back to it. She's been identifying for nearly 10 years as a male, and then she started to detransition. Okay. The number of young people seeking transition is at an all-time high. But we hear very little, if anything, about those who may come to regret their decision. I wonder why. Currently, no data to reflect the number who may be unhappy in their new gender. Yes, there is. There is lots of data, actually, that you actively suppress. There's lots and lots of data, like data that says between 70 to 90% of young people who don't undergo the transition surgery or any of the hormonal replacement surgeries or treatments, they just end up being fine. They end up being fine. There are many people, I think like anywhere from, a quarter to a half of the people who transition want to detransition, and those who did transition, at least half of them, if not more, said that they are not happy. It didn't make it any better changing, that they still feel suicidal, that they still feel unhappy. And I'm sorry, but some of these people have such convincing surgeries that it's not that society doesn't recognize you. It's not like you're one of those people as, walking around, in a dress and a beard where it's pretty obvious. Some of these people, like if you look at Blair White, like she looks like a girl. You wouldn't guess it unless you knew. There are other people like that. Some of the guys look like guys. So it's not that society is rejecting you. Nobody knows. You know, and it's eating you up inside. That is the difference. Okay. I'm in communication with 19 and 20-year-olds who have had full gender reassignment surgery, who wish they hadn't, and their dysphoria hadn't been relieved. They don't feel better for it. They don't know what their options are now. Okay. Common characteristics: 20s, mostly female, same-sex attracted, and often autistic as well. Okay, guys and gals, this is hugely important. What has the agenda been? The future is female, feminism, well, women have to be the leaders. No. There is a reason, there's a huge reason why women are preyed on, because they, unfortunately, are easier to lead and easier to manipulate. Their emotions naturally, here we go, here's a biology lesson, they have higher levels of hormones, they have higher feelings of empathy and compassion and all these things. Women are just more that way than men are. There are, of course, emotional men, duh. There are guys who could be easily led, duh. But it's just a fact. I'm sorry. Facts don't care about your feelings. Here's the thing. Women are just easier to manipulate. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. You know, especially when they're young. Especially when they're young. I mean, if you think about how stupid some of these middle-aged women and even old women can be, like seniors and older, how dumb they can be, or how gullible or like rigid in their mindset. They hear something and that's it. You're not going to change their mind. If it's written in this newspaper, it is gospel. You're not going to change their mind. It's very, very sad. And it's, I'm sorry to say, more common among women than men. The youth, why are they constantly attacking the youth? They realize that they can do this to confuse teens and people in their 20s, but actually it's far more effective and easier to do it to children who engage in fantasy play, who actually can think that a cardboard box is a spaceship. Do you think that people like that maybe are easier to brainwash and manipulate and indoctrinate? Yeah, they are. Okay. So why do you think they're doing it at that level? Why do you think that they're like doing the shock method with the drag queen story time and with the, I don't even want to say, you know, taking them to the pride parades and all the rest of it. This is like an immersion technique, right? So female, first problem. Age, second problem. I'm going to go to the autistic thing before I go to the same-sex attracted thing. Okay. When you have neurological abnormalities, let's say, because let's stick to the technical terms. It is. You're deviating from the norm. There's normal, there's abnormal. I'm sorry. It's just as simple as that. Okay? Words have meanings. They cannot just be interchanged because they make you feel better. We can't live that way. Sorry. Okay. So already you have a huge vulnerability that you do not think in the same way as most people do. You do not socialize yourself in the same way as most people do. Your emotional regulation is not normal. Think of How Dare You Girl. She also is on this spectrum, and it's very obvious. Okay, their levels of anxiety, their levels of worry and doom and gloom and self-image and identity, all these things are highly, I don't want to say like, yeah, damaged or interfered with or just not normal. And all the therapy in the world, all the drugs in the world, you cannot make someone 100% normal. You can teach them how to cope and you can get them like better, okay? But nevertheless, this is a fundamental issue that someone has. You may be able to train yourself to not be so emotional as a woman or whatever, or you may grow out of being young and smarten up a little bit. But I don't know that you can necessarily grow out of being mentally impaired or handicapped. You can try, but if there was such a therapist or drug who can do it, they would be a multi-billionaire, I guarantee you. Okay, but they're not. And actually, maybe that person has already been killed because they don't want people growing out of these things. Okay. So that's 3 already like nails in the coffin. Let's put the final nail in the coffin. They're same-sex attracted, meaning they already live in a deviant life form. And I'm not saying deviant like dodgy, creepy criminal or whatever. I'm just saying it's deviating from the norm. Standard deviation, deviating from the norm. It's, again, words have meanings. They don't have to, make you upset. It just means what it means. So they're already living on the fringes of society. Out of the whole world, they are a mere couple percentage. Okay? So that already makes them feel different, outsiders, difficult to, live with themselves. They feel that the only way that they can make themselves not be gay is by being the opposite gender, so that it's normal for them to like girls, because actually I'm a boy and boys like girls and girls like boys, and that's normal. So I'm normal. Again, maladaptive thinking with already neurological impairments, plus you're confused, plus you're young. It's a horribly bad combination. And there you go. What does it say? She felt shunned by the LGBT community for being a traitor. Why do you think that these stories are suppressed? Exactly because it's not a support group. It's a political movement. and these people do not want you to go against the dogma. And that's what it is. Remember during the election time where there were like gay conservatives for Trump? They were so badly treated. You have to hold a certain opinion. And actually, I thought the whole point was it's just my sexual orientation. It's not my political or social identity or any of that. No. You have to toe the party line. So I didn't think any change was going to be enough in the end, and I thought it would be better to work on changing how I felt about myself than changing my body. Amen. That's exactly what we should be helping people with. I don't like when people make those struggling with these types of issues feel worse about themselves. Like, okay, we don't agree with it. We don't have this problem. We think it's odd. Like, why would you have this problem? Because they were brainwashed. Imagine you were brainwashed. Obviously, you don't need anyone making it worse for you, right? So there is a point that we should have compassion for people. We should love and help them. You don't need to make it worse. You don't. It's all well and good. You have some banter and you make jokes and whatever. But at the end of the day, you need to hold these people's hands through it, because this person, by some miracle, came to this realization on their own. There are many people who will not come to this realization on their own, and there are many people who will reject any sort of help. But you're only going to confirm their worldview that you're some sort of bigot, racist, homophobe if you actually act in like this mean way to them. Just say, look, I understand what you're going through. It must be difficult. I can't pretend to know what it's like, but there is help for you if you need it. And, this isn't conversion therapy. This isn't force you down and strap you down and do this to you. Come and get help if you want it. It's just, I'm not trying to sound like some sort of softy, hippie, whatever. Why wouldn't you care about other people? Obviously, it's not good. These are going to be the future of the world. Old people will die and these people will become the new guard. And do you want that to be what makes, the policies for our life? No, we don't. And also, we're not far in age from these people either. We're young, they're young, maybe a bit younger, a bit older, but we need to help each other. There's no reason why we need to constantly hate each other and draw these battle lines based on because we're different. That's exactly what they want. The infighting, the bashing or whatever. Don't fall for it. Do not fall for it. Okay. And look at this. Their health service is offers these gender identity services for children under 18, with some parents as young as patients as young as 3 and 4 years old. That's crazy. That's cray, okay? And this is happening in Canada as well, probably in America as well. Look, the amount of referrals has gone up by 3,200% from 10 years ago. And for girls, 5,337%. What's this about caring about women? What's this about protecting women? Of course, they do this to men. I mean, they'll quickly cut your winky off, no problem. But again, think about what is actually happening. Don't get all into it, get confused because you don't like it and you think it's disgusting or whatever. Think about what is actually happening. This is a full-on assault and attack on not just society, because that's abstract, on actual people, on girls, on boys, on your children, on your neighbors. The school system is doing this. The public policy is doing this. In Canada, it's illegal to make any sort of misgendering statement or anything like that. And we all know our favorite lobster went to the human rights tribunals for this. What else? They'll take your kids if you don't detransition them. This is happening everywhere. Okay, or not detransition, to transition them. Okay, if you reject it, you can no longer see your kids. So this is ridiculous. Has positive outcome for many people? No, it hasn't. As I told you, there are studies that show that it hasn't. Yeah, detransitioning is transphobic. How? The person themselves is trans. It's like no one thinks it's weird if you like fish and then all of a sudden you don't like fish anymore. Oh, okay, cool. Well, I thought I was gay. Maybe I'm not gay. You're homophobic. Well, I wanted to try living my life as a man, but actually, I think I'm going to stick to the woman thing. That's transphobic. What's wrong with people? Why? Because there's an agenda. People are brainwashed and they feel that they must comply. This person, this girl, I'm going to address her as she is actually, this is brave. This is courageous because she's actually stepping out of this world and is willing to go on television and put a target on her back by saying this. And look how many people have come to support her and to ask for help themselves. Okay? This is not nothing. This is a big step. But here's the thing. You got to support these people when they do it. And you don't have to be so gleeful. You don't have to make it seem like, aha, I told you so, I was right. You just have to reassure people that they're making a good choice. And it's better to learn to love yourself than to try to contort the world into accepting you the way you want to see yourself. That will change. If you're gender fluid, one day you're this, one day you're that. How come I have to do mental gymnastics because you're doing mental gymnastics? It doesn't make sense. You cannot expect the world to accommodate you in every single way. We have basic rules of fairness and things, justice to make it as generally fair for everyone. But we cannot make a billion laws because each person has their own little quirks. That makes no sense. And if that were the case, the world would be a prison more than it already is. Because think about it. You said one thing in one case, it's okay. And another person, it's not okay. Oh, straight to jail. Or, oh, you're charged. Oh, you got to pay this. You got to do that. We cannot live like that. And it makes no sense. So next time you encounter these type of people, just please be sensitive to them. You don't have to bend over backwards and pander. I'm not saying change your values or beliefs, but sometimes you don't have to. When a person's down, you don't need to stab them anymore. Okay, so like, I just there's not much more to say about that. Actually, one thing I did want to bring up is how the school thing. So here's a third story then. How the school issue is affecting this, because where do these kids learn this? Excuse me. And all the sort of Western countries like Canada, America, and UK, for this example, incidences of the, whether it be same-sex attraction or gender identity issues in, single digits, like, as they said, between 3 and 4 years, that's how they started transitioning. Between that age up to like late teens, the incidences of people reporting something atypical, like saying that they're a boy or a girl when they're the opposite, or when they feel that they're same-sex attracted, has gone up by like, I think it was 28% or something like that. So 28% of people in school feel this way. So it's easy to think, oh my God, like a quarter or more or a third or whatever of pupils in my world are this way. Does that mean, and they make the mistake of generalizing, does that mean that the population is more gay than I thought or more trans than I thought? No, it's still only like 2 or 3%. And when it comes to trans, it's like less than 1%. So it's easy to get confused when you think because it's happening in my world, it must be happening in the world. That's not the case. So how does this happen? And this is, a big reason people really hate the whole Common Core curriculum and things. I was watching a guy yesterday, and he wrote a book that you might be interested in purchasing. I think it's about how like school system has failed people, and how the utopian type of worldview. His name is Alex Newman. You can look him up. Kind of a young guy with a beard, so you know what to look for. Basically, I got some little information out of his presentation. So look what he was saying here. Okay, look at how they want to change the minds of pupils. I'm convinced this is by John J. Dunphy, and he wrote this in the Humanist magazine in 1983, so this has been going on, a religion for a new age. I'm convinced that the battle for humankind's future must be waged and won in the public school classrooms by teachers who correctly perceive their role as the proselytizers of a new faith. Proselytizing is to kind of like evangelize, to push a religious viewpoint. But their religiosity is humanism. Where is this percentage the highest? At schools. Where are they teaching you the gay curriculum and the trans curriculum? At schools. Who were based people, peace be upon them, that they didn't want their kids to learn that? Who does Charlie Kirk say is the bad guy for not wanting to teach this, and the other is the good guy for having the biggest parades in the world? Think about it. Here's another one. Okay. This is by, I don't know how to say his first name, Orestes Brownston. And this is, again, 1803 and he to 1876. That's when he lived. Okay, go away. Okay, the great object was to get rid of Christianity. This is about schools again, and society in general in America. The plan was not to make open attacks on religion, although we might belabor the clergy and bring them into contempt where we could, but to establish a system of state. We said national schools, but now they want global schools, which is what UNESCO is all about. Okay, from which all religion was to be excluded, except the religion of humanism, secular humanism, in which nothing was to be taught but such knowledge as is verifiable by the senses, and to which all parents were to be compelled by law to send their children. And this guy actually converted. He repented and converted to Christianity. So there you go. Good guy. Basically, this is what's happening. And I'm really quite both saddened and glad because people are, making the right choices. Slowly, people are waking up and realizing that this lifestyle isn't helping their underlying condition. And again, I don't have, there's a difference, like when we say, oh, Christians don't do this, don't do that. Okay. You don't do that. You don't encourage maybe your family to do that, or your whoever circle of people. But there's no reason for us to hate other people for what they are and what they've chosen to do. I've made many mistakes in my lifetime. I have done many things that it's not that I regret doing it because I learned so much, but I maybe wish I hadn't, knowing now what I do. Okay, but how do you know that, right? Some kids listen the first time, others have to make the mistake and then they'll get it. Unfortunately, I was a mixture of both, but there you go. So are other people. So let people come to their conclusions when they're ready. You can try to, offer this other lifestyle for them, that they are loved. They don't have to change who they are to come to Jesus. Come as you are and he will change you. It's as simple as that. They might not think that it's true, but you have to be a human billboard. You have to promote the values that you're trying to say that are possible, the lifestyle that's possible. If you are a hypocrite and you say one thing and do another, people are not going, they already know that. That's more of the same. Oh yeah, religion's bullshit. Yeah, I agree, religion is bullshit. But they're not all equal, right? There is a way where if you practice what you're preaching, cliche, people will see that, yes, we may stumble on the way, but we're going in the right direction. There are many people who have come out of certain lifestyles who are happy and who have, been able to rebuild their lives. If you can overcome being a drug addict, if you can overcome having sexual immoralities, if you can overcome whatever, there's no reason why we shouldn't, you know, be patient with other people and, you know, pray for them and take, you know, I don't want to say take pity on them, but like, you know, care for them. Like, don't be so cruel, because the whole point is that we're loving people. So why would we act like those hateful protesters when we're not those people? We despise that sort of behavior from any side, because we don't take sides. There's the truth and then there's falsity. There's goodness and then there's not goodness, which is a derivative of evil. We believe in those things. So why are we, when it comes to the one thing that we don't like, then all of a sudden we act just like they do? Don't do that. It's easy to say, it's not as easy to do. We all make mistakes, I get it. But one thing that I've learned is that you've got to really just not shoot your mouth off. Still learning. And just listen to people, think it through, ask questions. Don't necessarily make statements. It's not about you. You're fine. You're trying to help other people. So just ask. Oh, how long were you living that way? Oh, when did you first decide this? Did you always know? Just ask questions. And phrase them in such a way that it's not confrontational. And let the person, and always, if you need to, like, treat people like children. I know that sounds weird, but caveat things like, look, I'm not, you know, I'm going to ask you something, but please don't be upset. I just want to know. Whatever. And if you do that, and people get upset, say, hey, look, you know, I'm not trying to whatever. I'm on your team here. I want the best for you, you know. So if you don't want to talk about it, we won't talk about it. Fine. But just try to, almost like how therapists do that. They have this way of eliciting information out of you where you want to share. And people love talking about themselves, so like, let them. And you listen and you pay attention and you see where you can make an inroad with them. And if you don't want to do that, and if you think that that's not your job, well, okay. But it's really easy to judge others and to think that you're somehow better or smarter, and we're not. So that's the whole point of us being humble and loving and, you know, doing according to his will and not according to our will. So that's all I want to say. It was a bit longer than I wanted to talk for, but, you know, there it is. Classic girls can't shut up. So I hope you found this interesting and informative and hopeful. And, of course, I always look forward to any comments that you'd like to share. And that's all I have to say for now. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.